Yes, it is October, and I'm already talking about Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Why? Because it's a huge, huge time for PPCers, and I really, really want to make sure that you are armed with every single thing that you need to be successful this season. Welcome back to Google Ads Strategy Hub podcast. This is a podcast that helps business owners navigate the complex world of PPC advertising so that they feel less alone. I'm Sarah. If you are a small to medium-sized business owner who's ever felt completely overwhelmed by Google Ads, you're in exactly the right place. Today, we're diving deep into something that can make or break your four-quarter revenue, and that's Black Friday PPC strategy. Now, I know what you're thinking. Black Friday is just one day, right? Wrong. We're actually talking about a strategic period that can boost your annual revenue by 20 to 30% if you play your cards right. So over the next 25 minutes, if I'm really good at predicting how much time it takes me to record this, I want to walk you through 5 critical areas that can transform your Black Friday performance. What we're going to cover is early preparation tactics that most businesses completely miss. And what we're going to talk about is campaign structure secrets that separate the real winners from the losers. We're, of course, going to cover ad copy. And we're going to cut through the noise of bidding approaches to actually maximize your ROAS. And we're going to talk about post-event management strategies that actually extend your success well into December. I personally have managed over $1 million for Black Friday. And the ad spend businesses I've worked on have been large companies. I've also worked on extremely small companies. And I'm going to share absolutely everything that I've learned with you, including the costly mistakes that you absolutely need to avoid, because boy, have I seen them. So let's jump in. Alrighty, let's start with the foundation, which is preparation. And again, we're in October, so right now you have plenty of time, but I'm going to expose something here. If you're starting to think about Black Friday in November, you're actually already way, way behind. When I worked at the agency side, we would be briefed in June. Yes, June. And then we'd have sign off from client by July 4th. Most successful businesses that I actually work with start their Black Friday planning early. Why? Because Black Friday shoppers don't just wake up on November 29th and decide to shop. According to recent data, and I pulled this off of a statistics site on the internet, 68% of consumers plan to shop online for Black Friday in 2023, which feels like forever ago, much, much earlier. So they started to research the deals in advance, and they said this in a survey. And in 2025, obviously, that's going to be more, especially when we're dealing with the economy we're dealing with, what a wreck everything has been since the tariffs. We need to consider that people are going to be shopping online and doing it early. And so that's something that you need to bring into your strategy. So here's what you need to do right now. So the very, very first thing that I want you to think about is I want you to think about teaser campaigns. Teaser campaigns are campaigns that can run in October and November. Now, these do not have to be your full Black Friday promotions. Think something like coming soon or early bird access campaigns. This actually builds anticipation and allows your campaigns to gather data and optimize before the actual big day comes. Now, I want to put a preface on this, an asterisk, right, on these promos, right? Because we are talking Google Ads. We're talking when people query and promos. One of my favorite clients came to me and said, we want to run teaser search campaigns. Please do not do that. If people are searching, you want them to pay full price, right? So like in September, October, November, before the official sale stops, don't do something like overtake your ad copy and say sale starting soon, right? You're not using your search campaigns as a teaser. These are things that would be in YouTube. These are things that would potentially be in your maybe Performance Max campaign, maybe a site extension. But I want you to be very, very, very careful about how you do it, because if people are shopping for something and they're in market and you saw something, like, think about it from your perspective. If you saw big sales are coming soon, you'd be like, wait, do I buy now? Like, I'm already ready to click the button now. You don't want to stop that, right? Your margins selling full price off season are going to be better. So the second thing I want you to do, and again, this is all the pre-planning, is I want you to dive deep into your historical data. I cannot stress this enough. Your past performance is really your roadmap for future success. So pull up last year's data and identify the top performing products, your best converting keywords, your peak conversion times. One client of mine actually was doing this, and they discovered that their highest conversion rates happen between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. on Black Friday, not during typical business hours, which kind of makes sense. People are working, people are out shopping if they're on break. And that insight alone helped them allocate more budget to the evening hours, and it increased their ROAS by 35%. It also caused them not to panic when it seemed like during the day the sales weren't really coming through. Because I can tell you that this is a time that retailers are actually sitting by their dashboard with multiple monitors looking at real-time sales data coming in through their systems. The third thing I want you to do is I want you to set realistic but ambitious goals and budgets. So here's the thing. Your cost per click is going to increase dramatically. And when I say dramatically, I'm talking between 50 and 200%. And I felt like sometimes, and maybe it's just like in there when I'm like in there working, I mean, it feels just very, very painful. I never expect the jump and the gut feeling that I get when it's going so high. But just think 50 to 200% increases, and it's going to depend on your industry. So if you normally spent $50,000 per month in Google Ads, you might need 100 or 200,000 just for the Black Friday week to stay competitive. And here's a pro tip that a lot of business owners completely miss. Prepare shipping timeline questions early. Nothing kills conversion rates like customers realizing their order won't arrive in time for their gift giving. So I want you to have a really clear shipping cutoff dates and build them into your ad copy, build them onto your landing page. Don't make people hunt for them. They'll add to their cart and just abandon if they get the shipping information later on. So the next thing I want you to think about, now that you've pre-planned, you've looked at everything before, you've braced yourself for the increase in costs to stay competitive, you're ready to rock and roll, I want you to look at your campaign structure and targeting. So obviously it's Google Ads. A campaign structure is where I see a lot of small businesses still to this day making their biggest mistakes. And the old rule was to never ever mix your Black Friday campaigns with your evergreen campaigns. And this is where I completely disagree. It's 2025. You can easily go in and create a holiday asset group in Performance Max, toggle it off and on as needed, and or use the account-wide headline setting for your sales. Google recently announced total budgets for demand gen. This was announced probably a week or two ago. And also these are set up similar to like a YouTube budget. So like if you're running a 2-week YouTube campaign, you can do a campaign total budget instead of doing it paced out by day like search campaigns. And this is especially useful since the lower funnel traffic, it doesn't scale as broadly as brand or performance max during the holidays. You just want your YouTube ads to be running. For keywords, I need you to think about a 3-pronged strategy. First, incorporate your Black Friday and Cyber Monday terms into your high-performing keywords. So instead of just running shoes Black Friday deal, or Cyber Monday, shoe sale, Cyber Monday, running shoe sale. I remember when I first did that, I thought, oh, no way, because remember what we've been saying about long tail, but I'm telling you, people do type in that longer term and append it with Cyber Monday and Black Friday and holiday deals. Make sure you have these keywords in there. They often have lower competition, but higher intent, and the CPCs, because it's matched exactly, will be lower. Google does serve them. They don't get marked low. Also, here's something counterintuitive. Just reactivate pause keywords or pause campaigns. So keywords that normally underperform actually can become profitable during high demand periods. I had one client, actually, that I reactivated non-brand on because when the sales drop so low, like 40, 50, 60% off, these previous campaigns, their non-brand, actually performed at that category extremely well. When we had it on during the regular time of the year, it didn't do as well just because they were such an expensive product compared to the other competitors in the market. So you can absolutely put on campaigns that weren't profitable in the past. Because I did this, we generated in that non-brand campaign $15,000 in additional incremental revenue had we not had that on. So just think about something like that is if you're breaking that cost barrier, you can be more competitive when ordinarily you may not have been because you were positioned differently in the market. So the second thing I want you to do is I really want you to go in and update your negative keyword list, because what's going to happen is that search volume just spikes. And I mean, I'm telling you, absolutely is through the roof. You want to ensure your ads don't appear on irrelevant searches because you're essentially more vulnerable at that type. Because again, there's so much search volume that irrelevancy, when it wasn't a factor before, can become a factor. So you don't want those searches to waste your budget. If you're a B2B company, especially, which if you're a B2B company, if you've gotten this far, congratulations, because this is Black Friday is usually all about the e-com. But if you are a B2B company, I want you to refine your list and filter out anything consumer related ahead of time. I should make an entirely separate video on how B2B companies can prepare for Black Friday. I've worked with a lot of B2B clients that actually still do Black Friday sales, just to think about that, but you really want to make sure that consumer related is going to be so incredibly knocked out as much as you possibly can. So the third thing I want you to do is leverage your remarketing as if your business depends on it, because it often does. So you really want to focus. So if you've been running these promos, you want to remarket them now that the sale's on, and you want to look at users who visited your site in the last 30 days and abandoned their carts and past consumers. Another thing to think about is if you're in Performance Max, your Google Ads remarketing is going to be running through that campaign as well. And this is one thing that I love about Performance Max. It leverages these audience and makes putting separate campaigns often unnecessary. Ad copy creatives. So all about the ad copy. I mean, this is going to be a time when you're just going to want to put it all out there. So Black Friday, everyone's shouting about deals. How do you make your voice heard above the noise, right? So everyone has a deal. How do you get your specific deal to be the one that people shop? Don't just say Black Friday sale. Be specific. 50% off plus free shipping. On orders over 75, use every possible extension you can. You can say the reasons. So you could do like Hanukkah sale, Christmas sale. I always try to use those because it gives a little extra prominence in there. You can put a in date and a stop date. You can specify what products. I mean, the extensions that Google has are just absolutely phenomenal, and use every single one of those because they'll show to the people who are searching. I find they make ads not only more prominent, but I love how Google tends to show them. The more specific, the more trustworthy it appears, and the higher your click-through rates on those. Urgency and scarcity right now are your best friend. 72-hour sale while supplies last, exclusive deals for email subscribers, although you can't necessarily put that in ad copy, but just something to think about on that landing page or on some of those site links, because they're really true and they create that genuine urgency. Maximize your ad assets. I talked briefly above about promotion assets. Highlight your specific discount percentages. Use site links to direct people to different sale categories and call outs for things like free returns, 24/7 support. So these extensions can increase your click-through rate by up to 15%. Your ad copy, again, still, I've said it probably in every single video that I've made on this channel, needs to match exactly. If your ad says 60% off Black Friday sale, you better be giving people 60% off, and show that any disconnect kills conversion because people are real picky. I don't even know if it's just that people are picky. It's that they're like trying to shop fast. They don't like any sketchy stuff. Mobile optimization isn't optional. It's survival. I mean, I'm usually home this time of year. I'm sitting on the couch. I'm on my phone. I'm, quickly buying things for my kids. So if anything happens on mobile devices or there's a break, your ads, your landing page, your checkout process, you're just not going to get that sale. It's too much of a competitive time. So you really want to be flawless on these smartphones. I've seen businesses lose thousands of dollars because their checkout process was clunky on mobile. Create dedicated Black Friday landing page. Don't just send all your stuff to your homepage and hope people find the deals. You want to create focused, fast-loading pages that immediately present every single one of your deals and make it as easy as possible. Also, bidding. Bidding is going to be really important because, as I've said, things get really competitive, and this is where fortunes can be won and lost. So, for one, prepare to get aggressive with your bids. This is not a time to hold back. Competition is so fierce. I've said it a million times. During Black Friday, your normal bidding strategies might leave you completely invisible. Plan to increase your bids by 50 to 100%, on your daily budgets by 200, could even be 300%. I said that. And this is where automation can save you. So smart bidding like target ROAS or maximize conversions can be incredibly effective because you're okay being in the bidding more right now, but you need to use that seasonality adjustment in Google. So you want to go into Google, into your seasonality adjustment, and tell the system to expect higher conversion rates and bid more aggressively. I've done this every year, so I can't tell you what happens when this isn't set, but I really think that it is a great peace of mind to know that you've told Google, I know more than you right now. The sale's coming. You better not optimize like the campaigns were set all year long. I also want you to monitor your campaigns obsessively. And I'm talking hourly check-ins during peak periods. I want you to set up alerts when you're approaching budget limits, because running out of budget during Black Friday is like closing your store during the busiest shopping time of the year. You want to avoid hitting budget caps. If you're a media planner, or if you have one, expect it to be on call all weekend, all week. Over those holidays, expect to need more budget and some incremental from clients, and have everyone on a speed dial. One critical mistake to avoid is a set and forget it. I've seen businesses set their Black Friday budget on Thursday night, go to bed, and wake up Friday morning and discover that they spent their entire budget by 2 a.m. East Coast time, and they missed out on all of that potential shopping as we made it to the West Coast, because time zones matter. If you serve customers across multiple time zones, you want to make sure your budget is allocated for the entire United States. You don't want to blow your entire budget on East Coast, because I'm telling you, West Coast has a lot of population and they can shop. I remember when I was running Black Friday for a major retailer, I am on the East Coast, my Google Ads rep was on the West Coast, and I would be panicked and she would tell me, calm down, like it hasn't even started yet. I kind of had my days where I would wake up and be really happy, and then things would slow down in the middle of the day, and then things would get really good as I went to bed. But that was the evening hours of West Coast shopping. So you want to over budget rather than under budget. It's better to have money left over to miss these sales opportunities. You can always pull back spending, but you can't recapture what you've missed during these peak hours. So speaking about holding budget back too much, I want to talk about post-event management and common mistakes, because you have had a tidal wave of intent, a tidal wave of shoppers. You've had all these conversion rates hit your account, and I believe that post-event management can actually kill your profits. First of all, Black Friday isn't the end, it's just the beginning. You have Cyber Week after that. So I want you to plan distinct strategies for Cyber Monday and that entire week. Consumer behavior shifts from Friday to Monday, with Monday focusing more on tech and digital products. I want you to also remember that the conversion delay in Google Ads will be a factor. So you've run these teaser campaigns that can influence later purchases. And so if you're just looking at day of in Google Ads, then what you can do is you can think like, oh, this didn't work. You're going to need to wait, a week or so after those sales, and then look at the full attribution for that month, or even before that month, because a lot of that will be attributed, depending on your window, to some of those teaser campaigns that you did run earlier in the season. So just something to keep in mind before you do a complete readout for yourself or for your client is that like these sales can be attributed to much earlier on in media. And I often see in January the same thing. I see, believe it or not, a lot of people think about myself, like I really wanted, Uggs for Christmas, and my husband didn't buy me Uggs, and I saw all the sales and I clicked on the ads because I wanted to buy them, but I didn't get them. And so I clicked on the holiday ads because they were there, but then I went back and bought it in January. So don't think that because you're pushing sales that everyone's going to convert. You're actually going to get conversions in January from a lot of that media spend, and it'll be attributed again back to December. So those readouts can absolutely change, again, depending on your conversion window. Something to keep in mind, because shopper intent on buying something will sometimes just pay full price because they really wanted it. So once you're done, right? You want to pause your Black Friday ads, let your bids and budgets return to normal levels, and re-enable your evergreen ad copy. I've seen businesses accidentally continue Black Friday bidding levels into December and waste thousands on keywords that just aren't profitable anymore. You also want to conduct a thorough postmortem analysis, document what worked, what didn't, and any specific metrics. This becomes your playbook for the next year as you're planning, and any other sales events that you can capitalize on what you learned. Now we're going to talk about the last thing, mistakes that can absolutely destroy your success. Mistake number one, generic ad copy. Shoppers are looking for the deal. They want to see it. Be very specific about what makes your deal special. Ignoring conversion tracking. If you've been tracking, and it breaks during Black Friday, you're flying blind. So test everything multiple times a day before the event. Make sure you go Google Ads, check your conversion setting. It'll say last recorded, do that. I've had a developer that you can call in case something does go awry. So not planning for feed or data issues. You have a lot of traffic hitting the site. You have a lot of intent traffic. Have a backup plan if your product feed breaks or if the AI picks up the wrong metadata. I've had, in certain cases, it'll say sales starts tomorrow because that was the landing page the day before the sales started in that teaser. And then the AI in my Google Ads, because again, we're using some automatically generated assets in there because picked up around metadata. So have your rep on call or have a developer to go ahead and swap that out on the homepage, because again, usually Google's pulling from that homepage data. And also make sure that you don't fail to over communicate with customers during this crucial time. Here's the hard truth. You don't want to take a vacation during Black Friday week. I know it sounds harsh, but you want to communicate with all your stakeholders as well as your clients. So the minute they've completed a purchase, you want to get out, the order, thank you for your order, let them know expectations on shipping times. I see this mistake with a lot of some of these boutique brands. I tend to buy a lot of fitness wear during this time. It goes on huge sale. And the truth is it won't ship out for 4 weeks. And then I'm terrified that I'm not going to get my item. That is the time to be communicating with that customer and reassuring them that yes, that item will come. Because there is anxiety that, you won't have the gift for your kid or yourself or, whoever you're shopping for under the tree. And it's the first time trying a brand. They don't have the trust yet. So make sure that you do have a communication plan. And I know that isn't on the Google Ads side, but that is on the side of being a marketer. And then also, again, I wouldn't take some time off. It sounds harsh, but this is your Super Bowl. Be present, be monitoring, and be ready to make quick decisions. And finally, last but not least, remember that every year is different. Consumer behavior is constantly evolving no matter what, but what worked last year might not work this year. So you want to stay flexible. Connect with other PPC professionals who are in the trenches with you. I used to do this on X, on LinkedIn. I follow Shopify. They put out a lot of really good data about what shopping is looking like, how much volume is going through their platform. Join communities, and don't try to do this alone as a PPC manager. It can be a tough time, and you might want to bounce ideas off of others and see what they're seeing in their industry. So there you have it. That is your complete Black Friday PPC strategy roadmap. I'm going to recap the 5 areas. Start preparing early with teaser campaigns. Look at historical analysis. Create dedicated campaign structures with strategic targeting. Craft urgent ad copy with perfect landing page alignment. Bid aggressively with real-time monitoring and manage post-event transition carefully. Remember, Black Friday isn't one day of sales, it's an entire season. It's about setting up sustainable growth that extends well into the new year. If you found today's episode valuable, please subscribe, talk to me, ask comments, reach out to me on LinkedIn. And if you feel like this helps you or any other business owners find strategies that can transform their holidays performance, feel free to share. And if you need any help whatsoever implementing these strategies, you can visit my website, you can book a call with me, and I'm happy to discuss your specific Black Friday goals. Next week, we're going to try to dive more into these topics and these marketing strategies to complement your PPC efforts perfectly. Until then, start planning, stay focused, and remember, your competition is listening to the same advice. So execution is going to be everything. Thank you so much for listening to your podcast. I'm Sarah, and I'll see you next week.